All right, it's media day. We are in our first 5A Division II district. That's 5A Division II, and I'm joined with James Williams from Fort Bend Marshall. Coach, you move away from the HISD teams, but you got some real team squads in here this year with Texas City coming through and PNG as well. Some of the other ones. Talk about this district and what challenges you may have.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Always honored to come on and talk about our team and talk about our district this year. And what a challenge! I mean, it's gonna be a fight every week. I'm excited for it. I believe this is probably the top district in our region. With, like you said, Texas City and PNG, Netherlands in there, Dayton. I mean, it's some really high quality teams in here where, in the past years, we were in with HISD where, it wasn't as much competition week in and week out. That's not going to be the case this year. I just really, really good competition, really, really physical teams, great, well-coached teams. I love Galena Park, and they come through running an option and play a very disciplined football game versus those guys. And it's going to be very challenging. A couple of new coaches, actually several new coaches in the district as well. Well, Willow Ridge is hiring their coach, Coach Pinson, this week. And Santa Fe hiring a new coach, a defensive coordinator from Texas City. And then also PNG with Coach Joseph. So, I mean, it's going to be a very competitive district, and I'm excited.
You mentioned the word competitive, and you probably knew this question was coming, but I want to ask it anyway. With those HISD teams last year, heck, I think you got, 6 shutouts last year, and in one game where you only gave up 7. So you weren't challenged as much as you like, and maybe that hurt you in that first playoff game. Do you think – first of all, do you think that was the case? And second of all, how much are you feeling better about the fact that you will be challenged at least, if not week in and week out, at least several times during the district play?
I mean, it's exciting. I think it does have an effect. I'm not one to have excuses. First round last year, versus Barbers Hill, we didn't get the job done. They were more physical than we were, made more plays, but it does. Your regular season is important because it does prepare you for the playoffs. Going through those battles, getting playoff ready does mean something. And so when you've had those battles, when you've had those close contests, we had to overcome adversity and pull out games and play those physical games throughout the year. It makes a difference. And so I don't think that's going to be an issue this year. We also have a tough non-district. We start out with Klein, play Crosby week 2, and play a very athletic A. Lee Taylor week 3. So, I can tell you this next year's schedule is definitely going to be one that's going to prepare us for the playoffs, get us ready, and hopefully fulfill and play up to the potential that we have in this program.
Before we talk about your team, man, I did notice the fact that you had Crosby on the non-district schedule. We're already got that thing circled. It helps that you play Thursday too, because that's not a lot of games that week, so we can concentrate mostly on that game. But you guys had a great playoff game a couple years back. Talk about being able to play a team like Crosby and how that kind of readies you. Because last year you only had 2 games before you started district play, and this year you got a couple 2-3 and you're ready to go. But in one of those teams being Crosby, talk about that game and how excited you are to have a kind of a marquee matchup that early.
Yeah, Coach Prito does a great job over there at Crosby. We had a game 2 years ago in the playoffs. 4th round of the playoffs came down to the end of the 4th quarter. A very competitive team. They have done great there, playing for a state championship 2 years ago, and I think making it to some finals this past year. They're doing a great job with that program over there. So it's always fun to have those early competitive wars early in your season, get the season started off with a bang. But that game's gonna be very competitive. It's gonna stress us mentally and physically. And again, that's a great preparation for the regular season. So excited to get that one kicked off and get the season kicked off pretty early.
When you talk about the Buffs, we always talk about premier athletes across the board, and obviously you had a bunch last year and years before. But we want to talk a little bit about Jacoby, because last year you played him at quarterback. You probably will play him again there or wherever you play him. But he can – I asked that question because he can play anywhere and be just about as dangerous at any position he is. He's being recruited as a receiver, but you may use him as quarterback, receiver. You can – having those kind of options with a player like that, how much does that open up your playbook and your offensive line?
It definitely does. That young man can play, practically any skill position, on offense, and can play on defense as well. He's a very gifted athlete, and the most impressive thing about that young man is how much of a competitor he is. I mean, he wants to win every single rep, whether it's practice, whether it's in the weight room, whether it's in the game. And he's a very, very competitive young man, and our kids feed off of that. He's definitely one of our team leaders. And so having that versatility with him, being able to play in multiple locations, definitely makes it more difficult, hopefully, for the defense. It's something for them to prepare for. And even on special teams, heck, we can put him back at returner, kickoff returner, and punt returner. So we're blessed to have that young man. And again, he works so hard. He wants it so bad. That's what makes him more impressive about that young man.
You talked about how dominant your defense was, especially in district play with all the shutouts. You had a lot of seniors graduate, but I'm assuming since some of the games got out of control a lot, you got to see with your own eyes what the underclassmen can do. Talk about what your defense may look like this year.
Yeah, very excited about our defense as well. We did lose some seniors, but I think we got about 5 starters back, including, like you said, we had a lot of guys. We try to play as many guys as we can, get that experience going. So just because you're not a starter doesn't mean you're not going to play starter reps or play as much as the starters for us. And we have some guys who played the entire season last year who are going to be up for us. Very excited about our starting group. Our defensive line up front, led by Zach Chapman. Big guy, big boy, 6'5" kid. Got a bunch of Power 5 offers this offseason and ready to come into his own. He's very physical, strong, dominant player there. And Trent Thomas, another 6'5" kid, and Logan Granville. And I mean, we have 5 guys coming back who played the entire year last year. So we'll have a good 6-7 man rotation up there. And it all starts up front. A lot of people talk about our athletes and our ability to run, but if you can't win a line of scrimmage, you're not going to win many football games. And so that's always our focus. The offensive line and defensive line is to play physical football up front. I'm very excited about this group up front. And, we do have some guys on the back end. Jordan Sample as linebackers coming back from last year, was our leading tackler, runs sideline to sideline, and then our secondary, quite a few guys back there. So we have reason to be optimistic about this group, hopefully playing some dominant defense.
You talk about your optimism. By the time this airs, you'll be well into spring ball or maybe even done with it by the time this airs. Where will your eyes be during spring ball to look for somebody to step up in a position where you may have hit by graduation or just want to improve?
Like I said, we'll always start with the line of scrimmage first. We're looking for some offensive linemen to step in. We lost some good ones last year, some big boys, one going to Florida, Christian Williams going to Florida, and a couple of others we lost as a seniors. But again, some young guys coming up, got some size. We've had a really strong offseason. Some guys made some pretty good gains in the weight room. So we're looking for those guys to see if they can play physical and be dependable. And just young guys. We had a strong freshman class this year coming up, and I can talk about Jacaden Ferguson, our receiver. His uncle played in the NFL at receiver, Robert Ferguson. And so he's going to be a big guy like that as well. We're looking for him to step up. He's had a great offseason, and definitely some key skill guys on offense and guys to create depth on the team as well on defense. And obviously we work with special teams and fundamentals of that as well. But for here, it always starts with the offensive line. It always starts with discipline. We're going to play great fundamental football and great physical football. So we're looking to see those guys, young guys, to step up and see if they can show us that this spring.
Awesome, Coach. I can't wait to see for the season to start. I know we're super early right now, but it's never too early in Texas to talk Texas high school football. So can't wait to see you guys play, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure, and we look forward to spring. We start spring, like you said, next week, and we're going to get after it and look forward and get ready for this tough district.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.